It's tournament practice, boys, and that means we need gear. We're going to Waterfront GTO. I gotta grab some stuff, dude. Good to see you guys at work.
Good morning, Mikey.
How are you?
So I love a jackhammer because the water's a little bit dirty. And one little trick that I do is I actually get like a jackhammer that's got some like white and green in it, and it actually mimics both like a shad and a brim at the same time.
You can always catch them on chatterbait, no matter if you're north, south, east, west.
East or west.
We got them.
All right, we got our poison right here, so we're gonna check out. We're gonna get out of here. Bro, it's gonna be a good day. Cloudy skies, kind of like your perfect fishing weather, right, Bug? Oh yeah. So you guys want to see why it's practice? I probably have 47,000 rods, top water, punch rig, Nico rig, live rocker. That's that new 6 cents little brim flippity-doo for like flipping docks. Over here, you got the old swimming menace, chatterbait, spinnerbait. Are you getting the idea? And then back here, I'm not allowed to have a co-angler because I need the space. We got all the offshore stuff, crankbait, Carolina rig, the old nickel spoon. There's been some really, really big bags caught. I gotta find my groove, test a lot of different theories, test a lot of different options, and just figure it out. It's your classic tournament practice. Well, that's a good start. Old school chatter donking on the old jackhammer. I like that. Oh. It's really interesting. So I hit the trolling motor, so the bait dropped, and she absolutely smoked it. Bro, the old chatter donker is the fire. That's like a 4-pounder. Putting her in a scale as we get the power poles down. I mean, took the slack out of the lines. Oh, get in. Oh, yeah. Yes. Yeah. I got something figured out right here, boys. God, am I slow rolling that thing. Get in here. That's another one. Dude, they're just slurping it. They're not freaking clunking it. Oh, that's a freaking good one. That's a fat joker too. Slurp glurping it. Got a nice snout on her. Put her on the scale. So all I'm doing, I got a little 1/2 ounce. This is a jackhammer. I think it's like the Alabama shad or something. It's like basically, you know, some green, some white on the bottom, and then a little tiny smoke shot on the back. So I'm just slanging it out there. In this case, I'm letting it sink quite a bit. Where we were fishing earlier, I was kind of keeping it up a little, but still slow rolling it. The concept's the same, but I'm finding that I'm having to get this bait down in the water column, I don't know, 4 to 8 feet, and just kind of slow roll it. And the nice part about the jackhammer is, you know, that blade, it really kind of works on its own. So I can fish this pretty slow and get a good return on it and just feel it going duh, 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 duh. And I'm just kind of slow rolling it, and I think either I'm bouncing off the bottom or keeping it super low, and then they're just jetting up, or they're like following it. And if I hit something on the bottom, I'll put a little quick reel on it. I think I just got hit actually. And just kind of old school chatterbaiting. That's a freaking big one, dude. Whoa, we gotta find a hole, boys. Bro, I mean engulfed the chatterbaits. Bros. And kind of freaking just threw right back along that same line, and I hit something, and then all of a sudden, bro. That's a Lake Guntersville donk right there. Maybe not a giant, but I think she's gonna come in pretty good. Yeah, that's a 431, dude. That's the kind of fish that you're looking for. Let me get her back. I think there might be some more. See you later. So we've been at it for a couple hours, and the story of the day thus far, I mean, maybe the conditions are kind of providing for it, is the JackHammer. This is a little shad imitator. It's got a little green to it, a little bit of white, got a little smaller spunk shad on there because I think the bait's kind of small. Tried throwing like a green pumpkin one, wouldn't work, and then went to that brighter one. Water's got a little bit of a stain in it, super cloudy, kind of makes sense. Pre-fishing for a tournament, I like power fishing. It's a great way to cover water, but you put so many boats on the water, and all of a sudden, like, these fish just don't react the same. I don't know if that makes sense. Like, when they feel all that pressure, hear all those boat motors running around, they're not nearly as triggered by like a chatterbait or a reaction style bait. So one thing I want to do, I rigged up a little heavier. You guys saw this rig in some of the earlier spring videos a whole bunch, and a lot of you guys really like it. I absolutely love the versatility of it. It's a little menace rig, but instead of running like the 3/16, what I actually did is I put it on a 1/4 ounce, and I'm going to treat it a little more like a heavier kind of like swim jig basically, and get it down in some of those depths I'm hitting with that 1/2 ounce chatterbait. Still slower. I'm going to fish it a lot slower than I would that chatterbait, but it's something that I can kind of follow up with, or tournament day, if these fish are set up like this but they're not reacting and I got to kind of finesse them out, that might be the play. But I got to play around with some different bait options, because the worst feeling to have on tournament day is you get out there and you didn't kind of practice how to adjust, or other kind of little, I guess, little tweaks that you made to present the bait a little more finesse, a little slower, to kind of accommodate for all that pressure and all those lures that they're seeing. The fish are still there. You just got to have different ways to catch them. That's interesting. I was on the old swimming doodle. 3-pounder. The old menace strikes. I think this is gonna be my secondary kind of follow-up bait, dude. Well, day one of practice is a wrap. Ended up just under like 18 pounds. Nothing like mind-blowing, but not bad either, and ended up focusing on the grass. And I got a couple kind of cool little chatterbait tips for you. When you're using that chatterbait, the retrieve is so important, dude, and the speed of that retrieve. And it really defines how that chatterbait behaves. And one thing that I found today is I kind of had to slow roll it with an occasional kind of fast reel. I look at it a lot like crankbait fishing, where you're kind of like moving that bait, and then you kind of give it a little extra, I guess you call it, to make it skedaddle. And especially throwing that JackHammer style bait, it has that sort of hunting action when you add a little kind of English to it, I guess you could say. But one of the most interesting things that I find about a chatterbait is there's two different kind of bites. One is all about how you reel it. The other is all about how you jerk it, bro. We all do, just, you know, admit it. So some days, and today was kind of an example where it was all about reeling it. It seemed like when I'd rip it, I think I got a couple bites ripping it, but for the most part, I had to be reeling it. It had to be kind of that pulsated retrieve. Some days, however, especially as we get into like the hotter days of summer and that ripping and using that rod to really kind of stroke that chatterbait a lot like a jig is a huge player, right? One other little trick that I do is, there's shad in Guntersville, there's brim in Guntersville, there's all kinds of bait, right? Ironically, the shad and the brim kind of look alike, because a lot of it relates to like the watercolor, right? We got this kind of greenish stained kind of watercolor. So for the most part, like the forage is kind of like greenish and like white, maybe sometimes a little bit oranger, something along those lines. So what I try to do with these chatterbaits is I use something generic. I don't even know what color this is called. I think it's like an Alabama kind of craw or something. But basically, the concept is use something kind of like white and green. It's a lot like that green gizzard shad concept when you're throwing that 6XD. I can play around with the trailer. So in this instance, I put a little, that's a spunk shad, and I think it's the new, it's like magic bluegill or like bluegill swirl or something like that. You can see it's got a little orange, it's got a little green, and it has this sort of like iridescent finish. And what I find is I'll alternate between that and kind of that blue albino kind of color. And I can mimic a shad or I can mimic a brim, all based upon like what trailer I'm putting on the chatterbait. That way I'm not retying all the time, with that being said, there are those days when all they'll eat is a black and blue or a green pumpkin or basically like a darker silhouetted chatterbait. But today, I don't know if it was a cloud cover or what, but it was all about that white and green and then playing with some of the trailers to either mimic brim or shad. I think it was more of a shad thing in the morning, and then as the day went, it was more of kind of a brim deal. So that leads to what I got. We ended up focusing on grass, right? And I wanted to do that. I need to spend a day offshore, so that's gonna be kind of like my day 2 of practice. But what I found is there's fish ultra shallow, dude. That's the cool part about fishing Guntersville and early summer. These fish, a lot of them start moving deep, but some of them get ultra shallow and chase brim. So I think some of these fish are really, they're eating brim, they're skedoodling in like 2 foot, 3 foot of water on some of these hard spots. The other thing that we found is we caught them on kind of like these breaks, what we used to call weed edges up in Wisconsin. And basically it's maybe like 6, 8 foot of water. It's where that grass kind of tapers down a little bit and there's balls of bait roaming around out there. And I think those fish are just chasing. They're either moving their way out or they're chasing some of that bait, but they're kind of in that in between, right? And that's when I'd use that 1/2 ounce jackhammer, kind of slow roll it. And then when I'd get shallow, I'd go to that 3/8 ounce. I'm not saying I'm really good at derby fishing or anything like that, but I've been in enough situations where I've absolutely sucked to know that I always got to have a plan B. So one thing I was thinking about is fishing this grass, right? Well, what if we get like bluebird, super flat water conditions and these fish just get weird, like they get weird, right? Like they won't eat that chatterbait. They won't eat like a super duper reaction bait. So we talked about this in an earlier video. But I think my go-to, and I got a few bites on it today, nothing like gigantic because I think they wanted something that was really moving and displacing a lot more water. But this guy, or like a swimming style worm with a little bit heavier weight, I've always told you kind of a 3/16. Well, as we fish a little bit deeper, as the summer kind of goes, using a little heavier weight so that you can move that thing a little bit faster. I got a 1/4 ounce on there, and sometimes I'll go up to a 5/16, almost a 3/8 basically, depending on how deep I'm going. Because I can throw that thing in the same places where those brim are bedding, on those grass lines, on those breaks, and then I can stop it, kill it, flutter it down, drag it, and kind of do a little kind of draggy worm style fishing with it, as well as swimming it and covering water. But they tend to bite it when those flat conditions, when those neutral conditions kind of come up, and especially if they've seen 50 chatterbaits, because there's been like 4 derbies, you know, on Saturday, because that's what happens on Guntersville. It's a good alternative, so I still have some confidence to kind of follow up and still catch some of those fish and get some of those bites. But that's gonna be a wrap on practice, dude. I'm not on them, but I got a good grass plan. Now I want to move offshore and get a good offshore plan. If you guys got anything to add to this video to throw down about fishing grass and fishing kind of like these little kind of brim transitionary kind of spots when it comes to early summer, drop them down in the comments box. You guys have taught me a lot about fishing. I hope I can teach you some things, but you guys have thrown me a lot of juice, dude. But I will see you next time, maybe going offshore, maybe talking fishing. I have no idea. Bogster is tired though, so he's done. Later, my homies.